Get ready for a spectacular journey as we count down the top 10 best parks in Canada. We'll take you to the top of the world, a place so hostile that only the few and the brave dare visit. We'll stand on mountain peaks and savor eye-dazzling scenery. And we'll get up close and face-to-face with some of the most awesome and rarely seen creatures on Earth. We'll dig for dinosaur bones in the richest burial ground in the world and enter deep, dark forests haunted by myths and magic. These adventures and much more as we visit the top 10 Canadian parks. Canada is blessed. It's the second largest country on our planet. Yet, with a population of 30 million, it has fewer people than the state of California. And the crown jewels of this land to the north are its world-famous parks. Some of these parks are easily accessible, and they offer a relaxing outdoor experience. But others are so remote and rugged that a visit can quickly turn into a matter of life and death. Imagine being in a place so remote that visitors have been known to have a nervous breakdown when they watch the plane leave them behind. It's a place where only the toughest survive and a land where only the bravest explorers once dared to tread. Our countdown begins at the very top of the world. Kootenay National Park is number 10 on our list of top 10 Canadian parks. The park is high up in the Arctic on Ellesmere Island. It's over 1,200 miles to the tree line. This is the land of 24-hour daylight in the summer and darkness in the winter. It is so remote here, you're not allowed to explore the park without having a radio to keep in touch with the park authorities.
Tank fjord.
Things are fine up here tonight,
and for good reason. Your chances of seeing another human being are next to nil. You are well and truly on your own. Even during the short summer, the climate is still harsh. The average temperature for July and August is a chilly 50 degrees Fahrenheit, dipping to below freezing at night. If you or your backpack fall into a river or lake, your chances of survival are slim, unless you happen to be near one of these yellow drums, strategically placed and stocked with food and survival gear. This stone wall was built 4,000 years ago by the descendants of the first people to arrive in North America. They depended on the caribou and followed the migrating herds to this region. Today, only about 75 to 100 people visit this place each year. And no wonder. The journey is long and expensive. It can take up to 2 days to travel the 2,500 miles by both commercial and private plane from Ottawa, Canada's capital. The base camp is only 450 miles from the North Pole. Eons ago, this land was covered by glaciers. In some places, the blanket of ice was almost 2 miles thick. Today, despite the starkness of the landscape, there is life here clinging tenaciously to rocks and sparse soil. It offers beauty and color against an otherwise bleak background. Wildlife abounds. Muskoxen are passive and almost tranquil, provided you don't get too close. These amazing creatures survived the Ice Age and thrive here thanks to their many layers of coarse hair and fur. It's such a good insulator that if you hold a clump of it in your hand, you immediately feel heat. Arctic wolves prowl the park hunting the muskoxen and smaller prey. It is also home to the world's fastest flying bird of prey, the gyr falcon, able to attain speeds of almost 65 miles per hour. As if peering off to spot an approaching falcon, these Arctic hares survive by agility and by sheer numbers. One of the most haunting places in Kootenay National Park are the ruins of Fort Conger. The fort was built in 1881 by Americans trying to establish a foothold in the far north. The great Arctic explorer, Admiral Robert Peary, used the fort as his staging camp, and in April of 1909, Peary laid claim to being the first person to reach the North Pole. The remnants at Fort Conger are intentionally maintained in a state of ruin. Artifacts and wooden structures would normally rust or decay, but are naturally preserved by the cold, dry climate. Fort Conger stands as a poignant reminder of what Peary and others had to endure back then, and what challenges all visitors today. You need a sense of adventure to explore Kootenay National Park, one of the most beautiful and spectacular places on Earth. Next, a national preserve that is as spectacular below the water as it is above. Some of North America's oldest trees cling to the cliffs. Rare orchids bloom. And oddly shaped rocks stand like gravestones over the wrecks of broken dreams and the ghosts of long-lost sailors. Number 9 on our countdown, Fathom 5 Marine Park. The Great Lakes are shared by Canada and the U.S. Together, they form the biggest reservoir of fresh water in the world. Fathom 5 is at the center of the system, on the peninsula that separates Georgian Bay from Lake Huron. You don't have to travel for days on end to this one. Fathom 5 is only a few hours' drive from Canada's largest city, Toronto. The park is the final resting place of many a vessel that foundered in its treacherous waters. It is a graveyard of sunken wrecks. Nature's handiworks are wonders to gaze upon above the waterline, but below they lurk as hidden dangers to unwary sailors. It's a landscape that was molded by the last ice age, the same one that created the awesome Niagara Falls. To the north, the escarpment ends at Fathom 5 Park. Here, natural sculptures were carved out of limestone by wind and water. Appropriately, these formations are called flower pots. Where the rock and water meet, it's the territory of Canada's largest population of amphibians and reptiles. The rat snake may have an unappealing name, but it's really just a harmless tree dweller. But there's good reason to be wary of the Massasauga rattlesnake. It's the only poisonous snake in the province of Ontario. Its bite can be deadly. Although it rarely sinks its fangs into humans. The park's chief claim to floral fame is its profusion of orchid species. Over 40 varieties populate the islands of Fathom 5. The park's oldest residents may not look very impressive. These tiny white cedar trees seem so fragile as they cling desperately to the cliffs. Yet they are some of the oldest living trees in North America. Here on these cliffs, some trees can grow to over 1,800 years old. The limestone lake bed supports little in the way of plant life, so there's not much organic matter or suspended sediment in the water. The result is sparkling clarity. Sunlight can reach down an amazing 75 feet and illuminate scenes that draw divers from around the world. Fathom 5 is the only dive park in Canada. Most of the wrecks in Fathom 5 sank during the legendary days of Great Lakes shipping between 1880 and 1920. The majority foundered on rocks and reefs during storms. Some sunk intact, while others collapsed into pieces. In all, 22 wrecks remain in Fathom 5. For marine archaeologists, it's a study in shipbuilding design and materials. For recreational divers, it's a paradise. Divers can explore the wrecks or swim through underwater caves and grottos. With so much to see and do, both above and below the waves, Fathom 5 National Marine Park offers 2 worlds in one. And that's a deal few visitors can refuse. We'll take you to the top of the world, a place so hostile that only the few and the brave dare visit. We'll stand on mountain peaks and savor eye-dazzling scenery. And we'll get up close and face-to-face with some of the most awesome and rarely seen creatures on Earth. We'll dig for dinosaur bones in the richest burial ground in the world and enter deep. We visit the top 10 Canadian parks. Canada is blessed. It's the 2nd largest country on our planet. Yet, with a population of 30 million, it has dark forests haunted by myths and magic. These adventures and much more as we get ready for a spectacular journey as we count down the top 10 best parks in Canada.